Well, hello.
Well, hello to you, Chris Brogan.
Happy to see you, my friend.
Look, you're over there in outside Boston.
Yes.
Where exactly are you, Chris?
It's right up in the northeast corridor. It's by a town called Newburyport. It's about 2 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, and the cold gray rain is coming down at the time that we have this conversation out.
Well, here in Cork in Ireland, the sun is streaming in here, low afternoon sun, dry as a bone today. And look, the first thing, Chris, let me start off by saying to you and to everybody listening to this, thank you ever so much, Chris, for agreeing without the slightest hesitation to do this interview with me this afternoon. I'm very, very grateful.
My utter pleasure, sir. I'm here to serve.
Well, and I also want to say that you didn't quibble. You didn't ask me, what do you want to use it for? You didn't say, how are you going to edit it? You didn't say, when are you going to broadcast it? And you have given me and left me in complete control in relation to what I ask you and what I do with it afterwards.
Well, I mean, I hope you're not part of some crazy Colombian video cartel. I presume you have, good purpose.
Well, that we'll find out, Chris. I have to be judged by my actions rather than my words, right? But look. There's the reason I rang you up a few days ago and said, or sent you a tweet a few days ago and said, look, can I have 60 seconds of your time on Skype? In order to ask you a question. But the reason I did it was that I had a problem that was irritating me. I was being bugged by it. And that's why we're actually talking today. And what I was bugged by was, and this is about the longest speech I'm going to make in this recording, Chris, is that, as you know and I know, I've been a very strong fan of yours for a very long time. I have been a very big enthusiast, and I have been increasingly irritated and bugged by the fact that I know about you. I know a reasonable amount about what you've done and your books and, the various best-selling books you have authored. But almost nobody I know has a clue who I'm talking about, right? They really haven't a clue. And this bugs me because, well, frankly, I'd like to be talking to them about somebody who they know as well. I've been on a bit of a mission to, increase your reputation in Ireland, and not just in Ireland, but particularly, I mean, since I'm in Cork in Ireland, I started there. But I decided enough is enough, Chris. Enough is enough. It's just got to do something. So this whole purpose of this entire conversation, which will take place in two parts, which I'll explain later on. The whole purpose is actually to put down a flag, to put down a marker, put down a foundation on which it's possible to build later. You are, comparatively speaking, and to some people in North America this will be a shock, you are almost a complete unknown in Ireland, right? And for a guy whose name is Brogan, that isn't good enough, right? Absolutely isn't, right? So I want to do a very searching interview with you, at the end of which everybody listening will be able to decide whether they want to have anything more to do with you or whether they want to say, look, feck him, he's just another American voice. So that's it.
Well, thank you. What a great introduction. Yes, my last name is Brogan. I have relatives, I guess, somewhere near County Kerry. My mom's side of the family was McKinney, so there's plenty of Irish. I'm more Irish than Curry, so there's a lot to be said. And the last time I was going over the Cork and Kerry mountains, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I have some of this in my blood. So hello, Ireland, and hello, my friend Paul. And it's perfectly fair and reasonable that no one should know me over there.
Yeah, but as soon as you've just already exposed yourself, Chris, because you've just proven that you know the lyrics of some very well-known Irish music.
Well, Paul, how are you going to pull a pint and not know at least one Irish song? You probably would get kicked. And everyone runs for Danny Boy, but that's the Americans that do that. I'm a whiskey in the jar guy. So what can one say?
Okay, well, at this moment in time, people think you're a musician, Chris Brogan, and we'll come on to your music later on, right? I mean, you just remember just remember, Chris, the impression you're talking to people who could easily believe that your claim to fame is as a pub singer who has relatives back in Ireland. Okay, look.
I actually kind of like the thought of that, actually, Paul. That might actually work for me.
Yeah, well, we might fix that for you later. Anyway, by the way, I hope you, Chris, have you got anything around you? Is there anyone else in the room with you?
No, should there be? Do you know something I do not know? Is there a
there are 54 people at last count around this, around me. None of them are visible.
Oh my gosh.
They're all here, and I'll just let you. I don't believe in letting people speak in the presence of somebody they can't see. So I want my business partner, Jonathan Arm, to come out here and just say hello to Chris Brogan. I don't think you've ever seen him, Chris. He's actually
he's invisible.
He's a long way from South Africa.
Oh.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing well. I'm evidently going to visit your homeland in a month or two.
Oh, awesome. Great stuff.
I'm going down to Cape Town anyway to talk to a very large church, evidently.
Oh, wow. Brilliant.
Okay, off you go, Jonathan.
Bye.
He has a job in the background, right? He has a job in the background. Okay, Chris, look, this is going to be a very searching interview, but the thing I really want to do is to start off. I want you to tell me right now, today, say you're in business, because we both know that. Say
Sure.
what position you have in the business, and in no more than a minute, give us the now situation, the right now for Chris Brogan.
Right now I work for 96 FM, Cork's finest radio station. I work for Mick Mulcahy. I create wind-ups. That is my job.
You have to fill more time than that.
Ah, pity. Okay, my name is Chris Brogan. I'm the publisher of a business magazine called OwnerMagazine. I am the author of now to be 7 books, one of them a New York Times bestseller. I consult or had consulted with lots of really big companies, Microsoft and Pepsi and Coke and Titleist and Comcast and all these kinds of folks. And General Motors and the like. And now I do a lot of work to help build owners. I help business people grow their capabilities and their connections. I do it in a very holistic approach. So I care about what time you went to bed. I care about what you ate. And I help try to give people a better way to bridge the gap between doing business like everyone else and maybe trying harder to make something really good happen.
Okay, that took 57 seconds. That is pretty stunningly impressive. But then again, you're highly practiced, aren't you?
Well, I have done an interview or two. I cannot lie. But really, it's all in preparation to get my job working for Mick Mulcahy.
Okay, Chris, look, I want to take you right back into, because you weren't born able to do all of these things. I'm going to take you right back into your family. I want to know where you were born, if you got any brothers and sisters, what your father did for a living, even though I happen to know he's a professional poker player, what your mother, who is unclassifiable, has done. Just give us an introduction to the cauldron out of which you came.
What a story I can have. So my parents were both radio disc jockeys back in the way old days. My dad was the morning news show guy. My mom was the nighttime sultry listener request line lady. He would purposefully try to get in early enough to see her on the shift out. And they met and fell in love after my mom originally dumped my dad because she thought she didn't want such a nice man. And then decided, I guess nice guys are the right guys. And so my parents had me a few years after their marriage in Augusta, Maine. Maine is on the upper east coast of New England. It is essentially a suburb of Canada. We just don't admit to it. My parents have had lots of different jobs. I learned a really strong and hard work ethic from them. My mom ended up working in the phone company and found me a job there where all the American Irish tend to go. And so then as time progresses, my parents have done lots of wonderful things and raised myself and one little brother named Tom, and whose middle name, by the way, is Nelligan. Again, a nice Irish boy. And my brother works for the phone company still. He's the polar opposite of me in ambition, and he's 400 times smarter than I'll ever be. He's the smartest person I've ever met in my life. But, again, quite happy to punch the clock and then go home and watch cartoons. So my parents now live in Las Vegas, Nevada. My dad is actually a professional poker dealer. He likes to play a lot. He plays a great deal, but he deals. And now he's got these social media jobs where he's tweeting and blogging and whatnot for these various poker businesses there. And my mom is acting as sort of an unofficial concierge to people who choose to visit Las Vegas who might know who I am and decide that they want to get a better tour of the city. And so there's never a dull moment for them. And I would say that what they taught me most, my parents, was to work very hard, and they taught me also to, very importantly, believe that I could do pretty much anything.
Okay, Chris, I'll declare an interest here, is that I have had extensive contact with your mother and father via Twitter, and I think they're two of the most wonderful people that I have had any contact with on Twitter. I did a sort of encirclement of you over the years. I found you first back in about 2006. We'll skip forward. It would take too long to say, how much of your stuff I read over that period of time, and when I first decided I'd send you a comment, and how long it took me to get a comment back, and all of that sort of stuff, right? But I at one stage just got curious, and that's kind of how come I know your mum and dad, and I say that I feel I kind of know them. But look, I want to know, as a kid growing up, what were the main differences between you and your mum and dad, the disagreements and the arguments you used to have at home? What were they about?
My goodness. When I was 6 years old, they bought me a really nice bicycle. Nice for me. It was the first new bicycle I'd ever had, and I didn't really know how to ride it. And as I was trying to learn how to ride it, I crashed it into the side of the house and broke the fender. So I cried a great deal and asked them to move the house. Clearly, it was the house's problem. I got in trouble like boys might. I was throwing rocks at cars for a while. I thought that seemed like a good idea. And, there's all those kinds of stories. There are many stories of when I was 13 or 14, I was sneaking out of the house to act like a ninja in the wily towns of very small north central Maine. And there was that going on. The fights we'd get in were always, silly matters like that. I mean, I was a very good child. My parents really didn't get too many of their gray hairs from me. And I could say that, the only things we ever did that were even vaguely bad were reasonably self-reporting, like setting off a firebomb beside the furnace. It was pretty clear that happened. So, we survived.
Yeah, in my family we did things like set a fire on top of a petrol drum in order to warm our hands, that kind of stuff,
Precisely. That level of brilliance that parents can never believe and understand until they see you do it.
I love your use of the word brilliance there, Chris, in connection with setting off a fire on top of a drum,
Exactly. But there's a lot of brilliant corpses, I would say.
Chris, I want to do this in two parts, I said earlier, and the reason for this is actually to do with YouTube. I discovered yesterday that it was actually, they'll only let me upload 15 minutes of at a time. So I actually, what we're going to do is my right-hand man here is going to give me a signal when I've only got about another minute left on the first 15 minutes, and he's not going to do anything other than clap his hands because I won't be able to receive complicated instructions. So I just want to be told, Jonathan, when we've hit 14 minutes, and when we have, you shout, right? So at that point, Chris, you and I can have a break. We can take a quick mouthful of whatever you're drinking.
No.
Okay, we're into the last minute. Okay, Chris, look, were you precocious as a school kid? Were you very, very bright? Were you highly successful at school?
Oh my gosh, no. all the way through 5th grade, I was straight A's and highest marks. And
Now, what age? What age is that, Chris? 5th grade.
Sorry, age 10. And
Okay.
I was just thinking, I realized that we don't have the same system. So age 11, age 12, I started to realize, wait, I don't have to do what teachers tell me to do. And everything went awry from there. And I got into a lot of trouble because what would happen was I would outthink the teachers. Sometimes I was a smart aleck. I did a lot of that. So I was not a very successful student. I finished off what we would call high school to age 18. I went to 7 different universities and colleges and never completed any of them, but I shopped around a bit. Boston has 28 or so colleges right nearby.
You were like Steve Jobs? You kind of signed up and never finished? Or like Bill Gates and those kind of guys?
I am like those guys in that aspect. I am not like those guys in the maniacal pursuit of excellence. I'm more like John Belushi than any of those two fine gentlemen.
Okay, Chris, we're going to take a break. Right, the second half is going to be much tougher.
Perfect.
See you soon.